I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Saudi Arabia, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And the thumbnail always gives it away. Biggest stock riser on this card, there is no question, it is Nasruddin Imavov, knocking out Israel Adesanya, only the second fighter to do so in the UFC. If my memory serves correct, I want to double check that, but it's a huge win. To finish Adesanya really makes a statement and is definitely the type of win that will put him in title contention. I said this in the reaction video I did to this video. I think Chimaev is going to be next for the winner of Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland, which is next Saturday. But Imavov's right there. He could either wait it out or see what happens, but I don't know who else he can fight at this point that's available that makes sense for him. I think he can just wait on things to see what happens for the title picture here. So we'll have to see how this all unfolds. But yeah, huge win here for Imavov. He's an underdog. Again, just looking here at Adesanya's record, I think the only other guy to knock out Adesanya was Pereira, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I know Blachowicz was a decision, du Plessis was a submission, so that's a huge win. Very, very big win here for Nasruddin Imavov, who now goes from, just contender to now title contender. So really big win for him there. Easy winner in our stock report. Now let's go through the rest of the list here. There's a couple different ways you can go with this one, but for me, my second biggest stock riser on this card was Sergey Pavlovich. Let's remember, he did not have a very good 2024, losing back-to-back fights. Didn't look so good in that Volkov fight, but this was a good performance. Wasn't able to knock out Rosenstruik, but still to get a pretty clear decision in this one in a heavyweight division right now, which is, kind of in limbo right now. We're waiting to hear what happens with John Jones and Tom Aspinall. But if you remember, just 2 fights ago, Pavlovich fighting for the interim title, lost 2 in a row. If he lost another one here, it was not going to be very good. Instead, he goes out here and gets a good decision here. Just looking at the division right now, this is a very big win for him just because of where he's sort of placed and how the division's sort of unfolding here. So big win there for Pavlovich. He needed this badly. His stock goes up big time with a decisive win over Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Let's get to our third biggest stock riser on this card, and fellow Canadian here, Jasmine Jasudavicius. Now I know she was a favorite going into this fight, but it's just the fact that she was very dominant in this performance here. Looked like a minus 265 favorite, and in a division like flyweight, this is very good as a lot of women are trying to chomp for the bit, getting up to that title shot here. I don't really know where a win over Silva sort of puts her here, but the fact that Silva is a former title challenger, granted at bantamweight, I still think it looks very good. And like I said, I thought Jazz pretty much controlled this whole fight. Looked really good. She's 12-3 now. What are her losses to Natalia Silva and Tracy Cortez? I might be missing one in between there. No, I think she just got the 2 losses in the UFC. Her other loss was Elise Reed, if I'm not mistaken, back for CFFC. So again, she's now on a 4-fight win streak. She's making a lot of noise right now. Lots of big options ahead for Jasmine Jasudavicius, who again comes out victorious. She was favored in this fight, but, again, that's the type of stuff that looks really good, is to go out there and get a dominant win. Okay, we got a couple honorable mentions here outside of our top 3. I'll mention Michael Venom Page. I didn't put him in the top 3. First off, I didn't think this was the best fight ever, so to speak. If Page would have knocked him out, different story. But, he beat an undefeated guy, and he was an underdog. Page does deserve some credit. My understanding is, based off the interview I did with him, is that he is going back down to welterweight. But, good to get back in the win column. Close fight with Ian Gary. I think him getting this win looked very good optically and, puts him ahead here, but does not make my top 3. Another quick mention on this list, got to mention Vinicius Oliveira, underdog here against Said Nurmagomedov. Again, I know a close fight here, but, that was good. Plus 135 underdog. Loke Dog, always exciting in this weight class. Bantamweight going through a little bit of a different period here with, obviously, Merab is the champ. Merab beating Umar, so this is a big win for him there. He's now undefeated in the UFC here with 3 straight wins and a good name to take out. Anytime you beat a Nurmagomedov, that's obviously good on the resume here. So Vinicius Oliveira gets one as well. And how about Terrence McKinney? Long layoff. Yes, he was favored to win here, but you like to see Terrence McKinney getting another stoppage win here. I know he's fighting a guy who's a lot older, but, good to see McKinney get back in the win column. Remember all the hype he had after his debut? That's kind of died down a bit with a couple losses. He needed this victory, so I'm going to give a little shout out here to McKinney as well. I know there's some other winners on this card, but these are the ones that sort of caught my eye on this card. Okay, let's go to the biggest stock dropper, and I tricked you guys in the thumbnail because it would have been too obvious to put it on there. My biggest stock dropper is not Shara Bullet. It is actually Israel Adesanya. It has to be. Because here's why. It's not just the fact, I don't think Adesanya looked terrible in this fight, by the way. I had him winning that first round. I thought he looked quite good. My issue, though, is he's 35 now, and he has now lost 3 fights in a row. Optically, that is not good for him. Now, normally when a fighter loses 3 in a row, maybe they look at switching weight classes. I think he's too big for welterweight, and we saw the last time he went up to light heavyweight, and granted that was a couple years ago against Jan Blachowicz, he didn't look so good. So I think Izzy's in this really weird spot where it may only be fun fights going forward, or you give him like a prospect going forward, like maybe like an Ikram or someone like that to sort of build a name off of. But yeah, this is tough. Back-to-back stoppage losses. Look, all fighters, if you stick around long enough, you're going to take some stoppage losses. You're going to get knocked out. At Adesanya at 35 years old, with all his experience in kickboxing and his MMA experience, it was bound to happen here. So Adesanya, easily the biggest stock dropper on this card, because had he won, we'd be talking about him potentially fighting for the title again, maybe, obviously after Chimaev. But, you know, again, if let's say, you know, Sean Strickland won the title next Saturday, maybe people want to see that rematch. I don't know. So there was a lot of things at stake here. And now with 3 losses, Izzy's back to the drawing board. In my opinion, he's out of contention right now at 185. So big stock drop there for Israel Adesanya. And then the other name is the guy we had on the thumbnail, Share Bullet. I told you guys on the preview show, hate to be the I told you so guy, but I just haven't been super impressed with him. And I didn't think that, you know, people were talking about he's going to be a lot bigger and it's going to be, you know, too much for MVP. I didn't think MVP looked that bad in his last fight against Ian Gary. And I think Share Bullet has been fighting easier competition for the most part. And that kind of caught up to him here tonight. The worst part about this loss too is Page isn't even in his division. So it's not even like a fight that he might be able to get back here. I think there's a lot more work to do with Share Bullet. It's just the fact, again, he was a big favorite going in. Well, I'm trying to even remember the odds here. I think he was like almost 3-1. Yeah, it was -200, so about a 2-1 favorite here. And, you know, again, just, you know, losing that fight. Had he won this, he'd be getting a ranked opponent or someone really big here. With this loss, I think you pump the brakes a bit. You go back to the, you know, the drawing board. And I already know his fans are going to say this. I know there was some health issue he had going in here. That's unfortunate. No fighter is healthy going into a fight. So it is still a loss. It does still hurt him in his, you know, growth in the middleweight division. The reason I didn't put him at number 1 is because he's 30 years old. He can still figure this out. He can still, you know, again, turn this around and, you know, use this as a learning experience. But Share Bullet has to be a stock dropper just based off the fact that he was a favorite and he was undefeated going into this fight. And then the last stock dropper on this card, I have to talk about her here, and that's Mayra Bueno Silva. I mean, you think of the fact that, you know, she fought for a title last January in the bantamweight division, decides to move down and didn't look so good in this fight. And even the Macy Chasson fight, you could say, okay, you know, didn't look great, but that was a doctor stoppage. Now she's lost 3 in a row here. You know, that win over Holly Holm, and granted, it basically since that win, which was a win, turned to a no contest, it's been a rough go for her here. So she's now hasn't won a fight since 2023 if we're looking at the actual stat line here. Tough loss for her. Does she stay in the weight class? I don't know. Is it too much of a cut? I have no idea, but I just look at the fact that Bueno Silva, like I said, was in title contention last year, fought for a title, and now here she is off 3 straight losses. So Silva's got to be mentioned on here. Okay, a couple honorable mentions on these stock droppers. Got to talk about Mike Davis. I was dead wrong on this fight. You know, Mike Davis in my interview with him, very confident, you know, talking about, you know, very, very, you know, much a believer in his abilities here. But it's just the fact that, you know, forget about his debut. That was, that, you know, again, that was against Gilbert Burns years ago. He doesn't fight that much. And, you know, now this 4-fight win streak, it's tough to lose a fight like this. Like, I think him and Ziem were sort of in the same spot. And for him to lose the way he did, granted, he didn't get finished. But, you know, I think with Mike Davis, it's back to the drawing board. Hopefully he'll be a little bit more active because I think there's a lot of potential there. But, you know, being, you know, 32 years old now and losing a fight like this, it's kind of tough for him to make any sort of run in the lightweight division. And then the other honorable mention I'll go to is Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Again, he was an underdog here, but this was a good opportunity for him to move up in the heavyweight rankings, potentially, you know, get one of those big fights. And now with him losing the way he did, not a whole lot going on for him there. So back to the drawing board for him. And again, with Rozenstruik, he's an older guy, right? He's 36. He's turning 37 next month. So tough loss there for Rozenstruik. He's another honorable mention on my stock droppers. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know your top 3 stock risers, top 3 stock droppers. We can debate that in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.